Good morning. We're in the lovely market town of Wimborne in Dorset today, and we're going to have a look around the historic church of St Cuthburga, which is more commonly known as Wimborne Minster. There's several very interesting things to see inside, including some of huge historical significance, so keep watching. A bit of history then. In 705 AD, Cuthberga, sister of the King of Wessex, founded a nunnery where the church now stands. This grew into a huge influential monastery for both monks and nuns. In 1013, the monastery was savaged in a Danish raid and the nunnery was destroyed. The main church, however, survived. It was later rebuilt by the Normans, and over the centuries it's evolved into the grand stone building that we can see today, a beautiful patchwork of styles and centuries. Unusually, the church has two towers. In the 13th century, a spire was built over the central tower. This collapsed during a storm around the year 1600. A church service was in progress when the tower fell in, but miraculously, nobody was hurt. As we enter the church, we can almost smell the history. The typical Norman architecture is immediately obvious in the arches across the middle of the church. Strong, imposing, and built to last, as indeed they have. The sharply pointed Gothic arches in the nave are from a later period and demonstrate how the church has developed over the centuries. There's numerous memorials throughout the church. As we approach the altar, one of the most important monuments is on our right. This is the burial place of John Beaufort, the Duke of Somerset, and his wife Margaret. Their daughter, Lady Margaret Beaufort, was a formidable woman. During the Wars of the Roses, she actively manoeuvred to secure the crown for her Lancastrian son, Henry Tudor, who had a fairly tenuous claim to the throne. Margaret's efforts ultimately culminated in Henry's decisive victory over King Richard III at the Battle of Bosworth in 1485. As a result of this victory, Henry Tudor became Henry VII and started the Tudor dynasty, which continued until 1603. The couple buried here then are the grandparents of King Henry VII and the great-grandparents of the slightly more famous King Henry VIII. In 1497, Lady Margaret founded the school which became Wimborne Grammar School. We'll cross over in front of the altar to the opposite side of the chancel, where we'll find a simple brass plaque. This is a memorial to King Ethelred, King of Wessex, and older brother of Alfred the Great. Ethelred was buried in this church in 871 AD, after he died from wounds sustained in a battle with the Vikings. Alfred the Great attended the funeral here before taking the throne. The exact location of the tomb is unknown. Other memorials include this one, the tomb of Sir Edmund Uvedale, who died in 1606. If we look closely, we can see that he's got two left feet. This is a result of a repair job centuries ago when his right foot was broken. Somebody thought it would be a good idea to replace the broken right foot with a copy of his left foot. Wimborne Minster has a very rare claim to fame. It has a chained library. Founded in 1686, this was one of the first public libraries, and is the second largest chained library still remaining in England. Before the development of the printing press, it took a large investment of time, labour and funding to produce books. Chained libraries were an effective means to prevent theft. The books were chained to shelves next to desks or benches where readers could read the books without taking them away. The books here at Wimborne Minster were donated by two people. The first donation came from the Reverend William Stone, who'd seen many religious books like his being burnt by the authorities and wanted to ensure that part of his collection would be kept safe in Wimborne. These theological books were in Latin, Greek and Hebrew, so must have been used mainly by the clergy. They weren't chained. When another local donor, Roger Gillingham, gave another 90 books in 1695, he insisted that the books be chained up, but also that the library should be open free for the people of the town, providing that they were shopkeepers or the better class of person. The library's collection includes early books on gardening, medicine, law, etiquette and building, as well as Walton's great polyglot Bible in 1657 in 9 languages, and a manuscript written on lambskin in 1343. The display case in the library shows some of the most interesting and entertaining works. The library is located in the former Minster Treasury Room. This is why the only access is this spiral staircase. Most of the treasures were confiscated by Henry VIII during the Reformation in the 16th century. We'll leave the chain library now and go back to the main body of the church. In front of us now we can see the elaborately carved pulpit. Above us is a central tower. This is the tower that I spoke about earlier, where the spire collapsed into the church. Imagine that happening during a church service, nobody being injured. We'll make our way back down the nave to the west end of the church. Here we'll see the church font. This is a Norman font dating back to the late 12th century. It's made of Purbeck marble and stands on 8 shafts. Originally, it's thought that the font may have been decorated with semi-precious stones, but these were removed during the Puritan era. On the wall behind the font, we can see a very special clock. This is an astronomical clock, and it's considered one of the oldest working clocks in Europe. Records show that it needed repairs in the year 1409, but it's thought to have been created about a century before that. The position of the sun shows the hour of the day, and the gold-black orb represents the moon, showing the lunar phases. At full moon it's golden, and at new moon it's black. So when I visited and took this photo, we had a new moon. The really interesting point about the clock is the position of the Earth. The Earth's in the centre of the clock because, of course, back in the 14th century, people believed that the sun revolved around the Earth. There's a few other astronomical clocks like this in other churches in the west of England. The workings of this clock also rings bells every quarter of an hour. To see where this happens, we need to go back outside the church. If we look up at the west tower, we can see a figure. He's called the Quarterjack, and he's a painted figure of a British grenadier who strikes the bell every quarter of an hour. He was originally a monk. During the Napoleonic Wars, he was turned into a grenadier guard with a smart military uniform. Very patriotic. And that brings us to the end of our look around Wimborne Minster. I hope you found it interesting. If you have, please consider subscribing to our channel. As always, thanks very much for watching.